The sun dripped gold through the canopy, painting dappled patterns on the forest floor. 10-year-old Finn scuffed through the undergrowth, his stomach a hollow ache. He'd been foraging for hours, but the forest, usually generous, had been stingy today. A few meager berries and some tough roots were all he had to show for his efforts. He needed something more substantial, something that wouldn't disappear like smoke after a few chews. Finn lived a solitary life, deep within the whispering woods. His parents, woodcutters who ventured too far into the unknown, had vanished years ago, leaving him to fend for himself. He'd learned quickly, reading the language of the trees, the secrets of the streams, and the rhythms of the animals. But even knowledge couldn't always fill an empty belly. He followed a winding path alongside a burbling creek, his eyes scanning the banks. Suddenly, a frantic quacking pierced the air. He stopped, his hand instinctively reaching for the crude wooden club he carried. Peering through the ferns, he saw two ducks, a male and a female, pacing agitatedly near a clump of reeds. They quacked in distressed tones, flapping their wings in a frenzy. Finn, cautious but curious, crept closer. Nestled amongst the reeds, almost perfectly camouflaged, was a small nest woven from dried grasses. Inside, nestled snugly, were 5 speckled eggs. A flicker of opportunity sparked in Finn's eyes. Eggs were a rare treat, packed with nutrients. And the ducks, well, they were a larger promise, a potential for future meals. He knew it wasn't right, not exactly, but the gnawing hunger overruled any pang of conscience. He moved swiftly and silently, surprising the ducks, who scattered with panicked cries. He snatched the eggs from the nest, carefully placing them in his worn satchel. Then, with a cunning he'd learned from watching foxes, he set a simple snare. Within minutes, both ducks were caught, their legs gently but firmly tethered to a nearby bush. The journey back to his meager shelter was filled with the ducks' mournful cries. Finn tried to ignore them, focusing instead on the image of plump, golden yolks and savory sauces. His shelter was a small lean-to built against the root system of an ancient oak. A fire pit lay in the center, surrounded by smooth stones. He secured the ducks to the base of the oak, giving them enough slack to move slightly but preventing them from escaping. Their eyes, dark and round, followed his every move, filled with a desperate plea he chose to ignore. First, he gathered firewood, his movements precise and efficient. A healthy blaze soon licked at the air, warming the small clearing. He then retrieved a blackened pot from the lean-to and filled it with water from the creek. As the water heated, he meticulously prepared his ingredients. He crushed wild garlic he'd gathered earlier in the spring, releasing its pungent aroma. He mixed it with foraged herbs, thyme, rosemary, and a delicate, peppery leaf. He'd learned to identify as watercress. He ground dried berries into a sweet, tangy powder. These were the sauces he'd concocted over time, designed to elevate the simple flavors of the forest. The water began to bubble, and with a practiced hand, Finn carefully placed the eggs into the pot. The ducks watched in abject horror, their quacking growing more frenzied. They strained against their bonds, their wings fluttering uselessly. One could practically feel their anguish as they watched their future offspring simmer in the boiling water. Finn, however, remained unmoved. He stirred the eggs occasionally, ensuring they cooked evenly. The aroma of boiling eggs mingled with the fragrance of the herbs, creating a strange, conflicting atmosphere of anticipation and despair. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the eggs were done. He carefully removed them from the pot, letting them cool slightly before cracking them open, one by one. A plume of steam rose from each egg, carrying with it the faint scent of sulfur. He dipped a piece of boiled egg into the garlic sauce, the tangy berries, and the herbal blend, savoring each mouthful. He ate slowly and deliberately, relishing the richness of the yolks and the smooth texture of the whites. He ate every single egg, right in front of the ducks. Their despair was palpable, a heavy weight in the air. He saw their agony, the unshed tears in their eyes, the utter helplessness in their postures. When he was finished, only empty shells remained. He tossed them into the fire, watching them crackle and blacken. He turned to the ducks, their eyes still riveted on him, now filled with a mixture of fear and something else. An unspoken question. He studied them for a long moment. They were beautiful birds, their feathers sleek and iridescent, their eyes intelligent and expressive. He thought about their nest, their natural instinct to nurture and protect their young. He thought about the emptiness of the forest, the echoing silence of his solitary existence. An idea, a seed of hope, began to sprout in his mind. He untied the ducks, releasing them from their bonds. They remained frozen for a moment, unsure of his intentions. Then, with a hesitant quack, the female nudged the male. They took a few tentative steps, testing their freedom. Finn watched them, his heart pounding in his chest. He led them to a small, protected area near the creek, rebuilding their nest with fresh reeds and soft grasses. He filled a bowl with fresh water and scattered grains he'd been saving for a special occasion. He didn't know if they would stay. He didn't know if they would ever trust him. But he knew he had to try. The memory of their grief, of the desperation in their eyes, had stirred something within him. A longing for connection, for companionship. Please take a moment to like, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified whenever we upload new videos. And as usual, thank you everyone for watching and everything you do to encourage this channel. Hit the subscribe button and share the video to your friends.